Hi guys! So today is the 2nd of April and I decided that I would kick the month off by doing a good old monthly favourites video. So today I'm going to be talking you through my favourite TV shows throughout the month of March. Because I've actually done review videos of quite a few of these, I'm not going to talk about these in any great depth. I'll just give you a brief overview, and then if you want to go and hear me talk about them some more, I will link my reviews in the description box down below. So the first TV show that I binge watched in March and was just completely and utterly blown away by was the Netflix original show The OA. This show, if you've seen me tweet about it or you watched my review video, you will know that I just think it's one of the most beautiful, imaginative, bizarre, creative television shows that I have watched in a really long time. The show stars Britt Marling, who's also a writer and producer and creator of the show, and Jason Isaacs, and a whole other ensemble cast of people who were absolutely incredible in each of their individual roles. It's a really diverse cast. There's quite a lot of young actors, but there's a nice sort of diverse range of people who are explored in this show. It's a sci-fi show, and it absolutely is not going to be up everybody's street. There's a lot to it, and there's a lot of elements of it that I could imagine wouldn't appeal to everybody, but for me it was just one of the most breathtakingly beautiful, interesting concepts that I've watched in a really long time. Visually it was stunning. In terms of the story, it was beautiful. Brief overview: there are 8 episodes in the season, and it tells the story of a girl named Prairie who went missing 7 years ago, and in the pilot episode she comes back, she reappears, and the show basically explores where she's been for those 7 years, what happened to her during that time, and she gathers together a slightly bizarre group of people to tell her story to, for reasons you will discover once you watch the show, and yeah, it is phenomenal. Okay, so the second show that I wanted to talk about is Travellers. This is another show that I did a review of, which I'll link in the description box down below. I really enjoyed this show. I feel like it's got a little way to go before it becomes kind of a classic, but at the moment I think it's off to a really good start. This is another show that I watched on Netflix. The first season has, I think, 12 or was it 13 episodes, but they're about 40 minutes long and really easy to watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This again is a sci-fi show which basically has a group of people who have come back to our present day from the future. So they've come back in a very unusual way, which I won't go into, but they come back in a very unusual way to help save the world from some disasters that have plunged the human race in their time into very desperate times. It's really, really interesting. Again, it's got a good cast. It's headed up by Eric McCormack, who you may recall from Will and Grace and other TV shows. But yeah, it's a great concept, and the way in which the travellers intercept the human population is it's a very interesting idea, and it leads to a lot of complications with the people who are already around them. So it's something a little bit different, and for me certainly I found that I very quickly got quite attached to some of the characters, and so that's always a good sign. So if you're looking for something new to have a look at, I would definitely recommend giving Travellers a shot. The next show that I want to talk about is one that I love very dearly, and I have talked about this show a lot in the past, but this show, the new season of it, actually only came onto Netflix last week, but I have already watched most of it. I think I've only got 2 episodes or 1.5 episodes left to watch actually, which I was trying really hard not to binge it too quickly, but I just love it. That show is Grace and Frankie. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, I'm sure you've heard me mention before how much I love this show, but it's on to its 3rd season now, and it's one of my favourite things on TV. What I really love about this show is its exploration of older people. The 4 main characters in this show are people in their 70s. When do you get that in a TV show ever these days? The acting quality is just absolutely stellar when you've got a cast like the cast of Grace and Frankie. Grace and Frankie themselves are played by Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, and then you've got Sam Waterston and Martin Sheen playing their respective ex-husbands. And it explores sexuality in a really interesting way. I think the fact that it explores sexuality in a group of older people as well is again something that I think is really interesting. I love shows that deal with this topic, and so I'm already interested in it anyway, but the way that it deals with Grace and Frankie kind of exploring their own sexuality as older people, and then obviously if you know the story, the premise of Grace and Frankie, these 2 women who are out for dinner with their spouses, their husbands who have worked together for 40 years, and they basically sit them down to say that the 2 husbands are secretly in love. They've been dating in secret for years, and they are basically leaving their wives to be together. So that's the pilot episode, that's what you learn there. and then the next 3 seasons are them just kind of navigating this new life, both sets of people navigating their new life, and it's just fantastic. This season has been just as good as the past 2. You always worry that there's going to be a dip at some point, but so far there hasn't. It's just remained consistently high quality. It's heartwarming, it makes you laugh, it makes you think. Everything about it is just stupendous, so go and watch it. The next show that I'm not going to mull over for too long because we'd be here all day is Once Upon a Time. As always, this show is going to be in my favourites video, because even when this show ends, which very possibly is going to be very soon, and I'm trying to block out the reality of that, I'll still be talking about it forever and ever, because it means a massive amount to me and I love it. And if you've never watched it before, please go and give it a shot. All of the seasons are on Netflix at the moment, right up until the most recent episode, and so you can go and check it out. If you're interested in fairy tales, the concept of Once Upon a Time is basically meshing together the fairy tale land with all your favourite fairy tale characters who you've known from childhood fairy tales and from Disney and whatnot, and meshing it with the real world and having these characters interact in the real world, and oh, I love it a lot. It's been great this season. It's season 6. Potentially the final season. We still haven't had confirmation of a 7 yet. I'm not coping very well with that, but if you're a fan of the show, I know that for some people they're not loving it as much anymore. For me, luckily, the way that the story's panning out is very much in line with what I want it to pan out like, so I'm loving it. And if you've never watched it before and you're looking for a sort of fantasy show, just a really great piece of escapism, go and check out Once Upon a Time. And finally, the last show on my list for this month is Riverdale. There were 2 weeks during March that Riverdale wasn't on, and I tell you, I missed it already. It's only on episode 8, and the fact that I had to go 2 weeks without hearing previously on Riverdale, I was like, this show's gotten under my skin pretty quickly. If you're a fan of Pretty Little Liars, if you're a fan of Gossip Girl, if you're a fan of that sort of like teenage, high school, very dramatic genre of television, I'm sure you'll enjoy Riverdale. Also, if you're a fan of like murder mystery type shows, if you're a fan of Veronica Mars, I think that you might be interested in Riverdale. I love Veronica Mars, and I'm really enjoying it because it's got a slightly similar vibe in terms of the almost film noir aspects of the way that it's filmed. The way that it's styled and the way that it's shot is really visually enjoyable. And so yeah, I would definitely say to check it out if you're a fan of any of these things. If you haven't seen it already, it's a murder mystery. So a boy named Jason Blossom from Riverdale High School is murdered, and basically everyone's a suspect. So it's figuring out what's happened to him, and there's a lot going on with the kids' parents and a lot going on within the high school environment, and so there's a lot going on in the show, but I'm really enjoying it. It's actually part of the Archie comics. It's from sort of an adaptation of the Archie comics, if I'm saying that correctly, because I've never read the Archie comics, but from what I understand, it's an adaptation from Archie's Girls, or the Archie comics series in TV form, and I really enjoy it. I did say Riverdale was the last thing that I was going to mention, but I am just very quickly going to mention one other show on Netflix that I have been watching. This video is not sponsored by Netflix, by the way. Just so happens that all these shows are available on there. But the last show that I wanted to quickly mention is You, Me, Her. It's a story about a couple who are at a point in their marriage where I think things have gone a little bit stale, and they're not really communicating properly with what they want from each other, and the sort of romance has died a little bit. They then encounter an escort in a situation that I will not go into because I don't want to spoil anything, but they encounter this escort and both develop feelings for her, and so it's an exploration of what happens when you add a third person potentially into a relationship and how that can affect you. I've not watched much of it yet. I've only watched the first, I think, 4 episodes, but I actually have quite enjoyed it so far. It's not like the greatest show of all time, but so far I think the way that they're exploring those dynamics has been quite interesting. And so yeah, if you're looking for something a little bit different to check out, I would definitely go and check that out. Okay, so that is it for my March TV favourites video. I hope that you have enjoyed this. If you have any recommendations for me, please pop them in the comments section down below. I would love to hear what you've been watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Thumbs up for all your favourite TV shows. And if you want to see more from me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that you're having a great week, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye!